Welcome to PCG TV Sports Time with Jerome. My name is Jerome Otri. For the last few weeks, we've been looking at women's football and women's football from the Ghana perspective. Here we come your way again with a conversation on women's football, this time focusing or paying attention to the Ghana Black Queens, who, for the first time in a couple of years, will be participating in the Women's African Cup of Nations, which starts today. With me in the studio is someone who has covered Black Queens for some time now, quite extensively, knows the in and out of the team. We're going to look at the chances of the Black Queens at this competition and also look at the competition itself. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, as we usually do, we take the scripture for the day and the show will continue. Welcome back. So as we have been doing, we'll take the scripture for today and then the show will continue. The conversation will continue. For the scripture for today, we'll go to Acts chapter 2, verses 44, where it is written, "And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had." So what does this tell us? What it says to us is that if we are believers, people who believe in Christ, we do not have to stop meeting together. We do not have to stop fellowship. And when we meet, even when we don't meet, we have to share with one another, whether it's the gospel or material things. Let's keep sharing. And Christ, in that case, will be pleased. We'll go for a break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest and the show will continue. Welcome back. So with me in the studio, as I was telling you, it's someone who knows the women's game. She's covered it, she's at it, slept with it, did everything with women's football. And here she is to talk to us about the Black Queens and the Women's African Cup of Nations, or the African Cup of Nations for women, whichever way it is. Akosia J, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Akosia is a sports broadcaster with Media General. If you don't like Media General, you can say TV3. That's where she works. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
So tell me, for the first time, the Black Queens are making it to the Women's AFCON. They've missed a couple of times, but this time they will be there. What do you think accounted for our, and I say our because we are both Ghanaians and our team will be heavily represented. What do you think accounted for our inability to qualify in the previous occasions?
In the previous occasions, sometimes we didn't have a lot of things going well for the Black Queens, whether it was the kind of players we were calling or the kind of treatment we were giving them. That all contributed to. And then we also got to a point where qualification was done in the zones. So we had the WAFU, we had the Sekafa, Kosafa, but then we had to play against Nigeria in the final round of matches, and we lost against Nigeria in the qualification process. That's why we were not able to make it in the last AFCON. But then the other one, which we was hosted here in Ghana, that was 2018.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we were booted out
Yeah.
in the group stage.
Yeah, I remember.
We were booted out from the group stage. So the other one was because the qualification was done on the zonal level. Yeah. We had to play against Nigeria. Just imagine.
But is it not the case that if you want to be the best, you must beat the best? So that the argument that why do we play Nigeria doesn't wash, because
when you're going for all of these tournaments, I believe when you play in tournaments, when you're playing in friendlies, qualifiers and everything, when you're building your numbers up, even for the FIFA ranking, these are done so that in terms of draws and all, you don't have to be meeting against as the competition progresses, they are top opponents. And so while they did something like that, it was almost as if it was ridden off West Africa, off of a lot of the work that they have done for a number of years. So yes, the zonal level could be good. But the only thing is, if you are bringing that zonal level, then you have to remember that maybe Wafu, Kosafa, they are doing so much work. So the number you give to the other zones shouldn't be the same thing. So it has to be the application of equity, not equality. When you look at the broader scheme, because for countries that you've participated in the Women's African Cup of Nations a couple of times, more than 5 times, and or you need to be getting ahead, or sometimes when we are making when a case is being made for you, these are some of the things that they have to look at, is whether you've medaled before, the number of appearances, how well you do.
Sense.
Exactly. Supposed to build up your numbers.
It makes sense. If you take the World Cup, I mean, Africa might have a lot of countries than Euro.
But we get fewer.
But we get fewer.
Because we are not able to progress.
Exactly. So eventually we made it. And everybody, or I remember then, a couple of months back, especially last year, the credit was to a coach who no longer is with us.
Yeah.
Are you one of those who think that, but for Nora Hoptail's coming, the Black Queens probably wouldn't have made it to this women's AFCON that is coming up?
No, I don't side with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we have been at the tournament before. No, listen, we have been at the tournament before.
Okay.
But we've even medaled before. We've played in
we
finals.
Were not qualifying.
It was just that one time. It was that one time we played against Nigeria in the last round. In the last round. And that was the time they introduced the zonal level of qualification. After that, they didn't bring it again.
I was expecting you to answer yes, but then I mean you have disappointed me there, which is okay. So tell me, if it wasn't, so you think we were still going to qualify, even if?
Yes, were we still going to qualify? Of course we were going to qualify. But the thing with Nora coming to join the team is you can never take away the fact that she brought an identity to the team. That's the one thing that anytime you want to have the conversation about what Coach Nora Upla did for the team, we always have to go back to that. The fact that she built an identity for the team, that she made sure that her defense is very compact. Her attackers are scoring they are scoring more goals. So you know that even in defense, even if we have to concede, we are not conceding more than 1 goal. Even if we have to concede, we are not conceding more than 1 goal.
But you were happy with the qualification?
Yeah, was I happy with the qualification? Yes, I was. Because she had time. She had almost 1 year, 6 months to prepare the team ahead of the real qualifiers that had to be played. Remember, she was with the U20 team as a technical director that went to Costa Rica before she was given the job as the Black Queens coach. So when she was given the job as a Black Queens coach, she was already in the country. It was easier for her to even move some of the good players in the under 20 to the Black Queens. And once that job was given to her, the first thing she did was to introduce what her philosophy was, what she called the vision Volta, what she called giving a particular identity to the team.
Vision what? Volta?
Yes.
What was that?
So she introduced that vision Volta to say it was her philosophy. So they even went to, the Volta region while they were going to Togo. So they passed through the Volta region.
I get it.
That it was her, because according to her, she explained that being she related it to something in a country where she's from, that it meant something to her. So she related that to it.
I must confess, this is the first time I'm coming to understand what that vision water was all about. But she left eventually. I mean, unfortunately. Are you one of those who was surprised that she left, or
was I surprised she left? No, I wasn't. I wasn't surprised
because you knew the things behind the scenes then.
Apart from knowing the things behind the scenes, when we were playing Zambia in that final round of qualifiers heading into the Olympics, we watched the game on social media, especially the one we played in Zambia. And the Zambians who were watching that game, even though they were winning against us, they were all saying, bring Nora to Zambia, bring Nora to Zambia. And I was like, you have some of the best players on the continent, not just in Africa. Barbara Banda, they are so good. So why and your coach is taking you to the Your coach has taken you to the World Cup, you're going to AFCON,
Yeah.
you're going to Olympics. Why don't
Why
you
do
want your
you
coach? Why do you
take
want
this woman
out?
away from us?
Exactly. And some of the things that were happening was like, was just going to be a matter of time.
Okay. So Nora Hoptel left us, but we still had made it to the Women's AFCON. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll talk about that. Welcome back. So I'm here with Akusua J from TV3 or Media General talking about the Women's AFCON that is kicking off today. And Akusua, we ended the first part of the show talking about how Nora left and the fact that she was going to go anyway. The Zambians were more or less hounding her out of Ghana, and they got her. And we now have a new coach who has been playing friendly matches, preparing for this competition. Do you think we've had enough preparation, or what we've done is good enough to see us through this competition?
On paper, right now, I don't think what we've done is enough.
Okay.
And it's because when we look at the coach we have now, and the fact that he wants to continue Nora Uple's vision voter, which means 10.
Mhm.
But I'm like, if you are coming to take charge of a team as a coach, you should have your own principles. You should have your own ideologies. You should have what would work for you. Because Nora was working with what was going to work for her, saying that she needed to turn the Black Queens at the time. And at the time, that was exactly what the Black Queens needed. That turn and that kind of brand that she was able to give to get the Black Queens to a point where everybody seemed to be interested. Everybody wanted to watch. Everybody wanted to know what is going on with the Black Queens. But then when you take charge of a team that has already qualified for an AFCON, you still want to talk about some other person's ideology. The question is, how well do you even understand that person's ideology?
Yeah.
And for you as a coach, what do you want to be
But
known for?
that comes to me as a surprise. I mean, I'm hearing this for the first time, and I take the fact that you girls follow the women's game better than some of us do. So is the argument that is your argument that he's not doing what he's supposed to do on his own terms, but
So
rather trying to follow the shadows of the previous coach?
no, so you ask him if he knows about what Nora was doing. It's like, yeah, I know about the vision voter, and we will try as much as possible to work and achieve what it has to.
I don't think that should be the case.
Then again, we also know that one, when Nora also took charge, she had time to build
Yeah.
the team to be exactly what she wanted it to be. So when she started, she was playing friendlies against Togo, she was playing against Senegal, and even in the AFCON qualifiers, we played against Rwanda, Namibia. The biggest team we played against was Zambia. For the Olympics, and then we couldn't qualify because we lost against Zambia. And so before she had gotten to that level, she had taken her time to build a team. This man comes in, and the minute he comes in, he's already staring at the African Cup of Nations. And so he knows that he's now trying to understand more of African football, even though he's worked with a couple of African players when he was coaching in the NWSL in the USA. But then now he is on the continent. He's going for
Africa.
the biggest tournament. Yes, the biggest female tournament on the continent. And so he's just thrown into it. At least he's been given the opportunity to play some friendlies as well. His first friendly being against Morocco. 1-0 loss. We're all like, okay, it was against Morocco. So we would take that.
The best.
I mean,
the best. One of
the best.
Yeah,
so we'll take that. But then when you go on to play countries like Senegal, and then you are not winning massively against Senegal, is worrying because of the level the Queens had got into. But we also don't have to lose track of the fact that after Nora built the team, there was a whole year, almost like 8 months, 10 months
of
non-activity. So this man comes in, and his first game is against Morocco. So that defeat is understandable. But if we're losing against Senegal, that becomes problematic. If we're not scoring more goals, when you still have the same players Nora was using and scoring more, when you still have Evelyn Bedu in your team, when you still have Doris Boudua in your team, Alice Kusi, when you have all these players, and you are even getting more of the players Nora was even scouting for outside. There was Josephine, who is in the team now. There was Chantel, she's in the team now. Then you are still not able to score more goals, and your defense is basically non-existent when you are playing, and there is no particular identity for your team. It's worrying. Recently, we played a friendly against Ivory Coast. Then we lost 1-0 against Ivory Coast, but in the first leg, we were leading 3-1 almost in the 78th minute, and then we drew 3-3.
That's not a good story to tell.
Yes, it's not a good story to tell, but it's a good story to tell if you are the coach for Ivory Coast, if
I
you
get
are
it,
a
yeah.
two-time UEFA Women's Champions League winner.
Yeah.
So that's the man Ivory Coast went for.
Yeah.
So you would know that
The standard of coaching there will be high.
So if we go into a tournament and then we are playing against a coach who is very good, who has now come to understand how his team should play, because the Ivorian coach just joined his team in January. And he's played 2 games against Kenya, which he won 4-0 before they played against Ghana. So gradually he's getting to learn the team.
He seems to be making a better statement than our
but he's won 2 UEFA Women's Champions League.
No surprise there. So tell me, how do you see Ghana faring at the Women's AFCON?
Listen, before the friendlies, I would say we're going to have a difficult game against South Africa. Clearly, they are the defending champions. So we're going to have a difficult game against the South Africans, because they are playing so many matches, very competitive ones on very high level. So I'm like, okay, a defeat against South Africa, we could take that. Then we're looking at Tanzania, who are also not one of the flamboyant or big teams in Africa. But seeing how we're playing now, say Tanzania will be on the same level as Senegal, Ivory Coast, and playing against them, it would be as difficult as...
That means we might struggle.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's Mali.
Yeah.
We couldn't score Mali in 2018.
It's going to be difficult against them again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's also going to be a difficult game. But then when you are playing friendlies, it's better to be having these results in friendlies leading up to a tournament. Just maybe the coach will be able to correct all the mistakes he needs to correct, but to give that identity to the team. But I feel he's calling way too many players.
Yeah, but if I listen to you carefully, it doesn't look so good or so confident against South Africa. And it might not be, how do you call it? It might not be a convincing form against Tanzania.
Yeah.
And Mali is also not a given. So that means that we might play 3 group matches, and if care is not taken, we'll come back home just like that.
If we're playing the same way we're playing the friendlies, in our last 3 friendlies, we've lost, drew, and lost. Yes.
That doesn't look good.
So if it were the group stage, these are the 3 matches we have played: lost, drew, and lost.
All right. So what do you think Ghana must do then to change things? I mean, the friendlies might not be giving us a good pointer to what is to come. But assuming that is what we are using, I mean, we are using that as a basis to predict how we will fare. What do you think should be done to get us to maybe holding South Africa and beating the rest of the teams?
So first of all, the coach should be very concise and precise with the team he wants to use.
Okay. You think he's calling too many players?
Not to hold a grudge for him, but he has to, because he's new. He needs to get to know the players, and he even had a very short campaign for the local players in Pampam, because our leagues are not on television, recording and all that. There are issues here and there. So he brought the best players in our league to Pampam, where he had to see how well they play, to be able to probably select a few from our local team to join our players who are play outside, and also the new ones who are coming in. Then he makes his call up again. He adds this player. Tomorrow you are out. But since he has a very short time, if he understands the qualities that he wants, and then he compares it with what the technical directory, that's if there's a conversation, there's a line that they can have that conversation, then he could just put those ones together and not make it look like a justify your inclusion, because we are past that justify your inclusion point. He just needs to make a statement now. And it's also very important for him to have that identity, which he hasn't had in the friendlies that we're playing.
So Akosia makes 2 points about Black Queens. First, the coach must get the team an identity, and also what? Get us to win. Essential.
Essential.
Okay. All right. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll look at other teams. Ghana may or may not do well, but who are the likely good performers or best performers we will see at this tournament? Let's go for a break and come back and look at that. Welcome back, and we've been looking at the women's AFCON and possibly how Ghana will fare. Now, let's shift attention to the other teams, Akosia. You mentioned South Africa, you mentioned Morocco. I mean, if you are discussing women's football right now in Africa, these are the standouts. And then Zambia, Nigeria. I almost forgot Nigeria because now the Moroccans and the South Africans appear to be doing what we have seen the Nigerians do for a very long time. Where do you think the tournament will go? And I'm talking about in terms of winning. Do you think the South Africans have what it takes to retain their title, or the Moroccans being host are going to surprise them?
Well, that is going to play a very huge role.
The fact that Morocco
is the host is going to play a very, very, very huge role in the success that they would have at the AFCON.
Is it about their fans, Moroccans being behind them?
Exactly. It will be about their fans being behind them all the way through. And it's also going to be about the fact that even though the Moroccan league is still very good, the women's league there is still very good. You have their teams coming to the CAF Champions League, going further in the competition. So you see a number of their players in there. And then they've been very good. They play a lot of friendlies on high competitive level. And so you know that they have prepared themselves. When in 2023, Ghana was basically not playing anything after the Olympic qualifiers, Morocco were still playing matches. They had played more than 5, more than 6 matches, and we were still looking at when we were going to have the opportunity to play some of these friendlies. South Africa are always playing. Always.
Is the South African team still coached by
Yes,
Desiree?
it's still being coached by Desiree Ellis. Wow. And she knows her team through and through.
She can close her eyes and deploy players.
Yes. And so the experience that she's coming with, the experience from the players, the experience from the coach, and the fact that they have tournaments that are also played on a very high competitive level. That's also another factor. Then we have the Zambian team. It's almost as if, well, Nora has taken over and it doesn't look too good because she's been losing some friendlies here and there. But then we know that when Nora gets into her element, when she's able to assign the right roles to all her players, she would also do good. The same thing she did with Ghana. And so Zambia could also possibly go all the way to the final.
So Morocco, South Africa, Zambia. What about Nigeria?
Nigeria, just because of everything going on around the team now, because they are not getting the friendlies they want to be playing as much as they want to be playing. They're getting one here and there. Their women are complaining a lot about the kind of treatment they've been given. Remember, they've won the trophy over and over and over and over again, but they still complain about the fact that when they go for campaign, they want them to wash their clothes, they want them to carry water.
Isn't it a surprise that the sort of Nigerian team I see there, I mean, I see from here, it's treated that way because this is supposed to be a first-class team.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's still women's football. And so that's some of the replies that you would be getting sometimes. And so just because of that,
because I cannot imagine the US female national team being treated the way we handle ours here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Recently, they had their I mean, they had what they were asking for after a long time
Yeah.
in terms of equal pay.
Mm-hmm.
We can't even start that discussion here.
No, 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 no. We can't even
We
start
can't.
that discussion.
We
We
can't.
really can't start
Okay.
that discussion.
So, but I mean, coming back to the AFCON, is it in terms of organization, in terms of preparation, you think CAF is in a very good place to give us a good competition?
I mean, if you are doing it in Morocco, it would definitely be good. But doing it in Morocco for the first time ever, we are hosting it in more than four stadiums, six
Okay.
actually. When we hosted it in Ghana, we did two stadiums,
Yeah.
and this was just what
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah. Six. How many? 7 years ago.
Exactly. And so
Wow.
they are giving us a number of stadiums. And even for Ghana, we are playing our group stage in two different stadiums. And so yeah, it's in Morocco. It's going to be a very good, very, very, very good sports.
On the global picture, I mean, taking African football alone, looking at it broadly, do you think CAF has done well in terms of improving the women's game?
Yeah, they've done well in terms of improving the women's football. I mean, CAF introduced the CAF Women's Champions League not long ago, which has been very, very good. Even though we don't play it on the same level like the men do, yes, we play it in the form of a tournament. Everyone comes, we play it, and then we're done. And also, even in the women's league as well, they increased the prize monies here and
Well,
there.
the first competition didn't have a prize money,
Yeah, I
which
know.
was a surprise to me. I mean, when I got to know of
The
it,
CAF Champions League.
how do you
And he
play?
always says that he's happy that it was his team that won. It's Mamlodi Sundowns.
Yeah, but there were
So
other
that
teams
he
that
doesn't
came.
have to.
Yeah, of course, but
But now
what
there's
about Hazakers who were second? I mean, your team won, so this doesn't even have to come from the CAF president, but then
yeah,
it's Africa, and
exactly.
some of these
And
things
so
happen.
they've done a lot in improving
Mm,
the
mm.
women's game.
What do you think should be done more specifically to give the women's game the sort of attention that maybe the men's game has enjoyed?
I think more education and then more investments.
Education of who? The girls or the
Education of
investors or
It's
who?
important to educate the investors
Okay.
because there are lots of companies in Ghana, in Africa,
Mm,
who are making so much money,
mm,
and then in their CSRs that they write to get some of these taxes taken off and all, they don't even end up honoring the CSRs.
mm,
And most of them have equality, gender equality. Most of them do have that, but then the people or stakeholders in women football are not in the known of these things. So they don't even know the company's CSRs. So if they know this, they'll be able to go to a company that has one of their CSRs being fighting for gender equality
okay.
to be able to become an advocate for gender equality in our football space.
Okay.
So that education should be there to the investors. And then again, the education to the female players should also be there. Recently I read the GFA statutes and I realized in terms of language use, the official language use for the GFA is English language.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you want to talk to players who are female and they want to speak their local language, I don't have any problem with that. But at the end of the day, for the career you have chosen for yourself, sometimes you need to abide by some of the rules you need to learn. But if you are media trained, you would know that you don't have to come to a presser and sound like you're Shakespeare.
Yeah, of
You
course.
don't have
Of
to.
course.
You just have to be
Speak any way you want.
exactly.
Yeah.
You just have to be able to express
Express
yourself in a
yourself.
way that will be
Mm,
understandable.
mm.
And that could be using 6 words to answer one question, and that should be okay.
Yeah. You don't
But
think that the girls need I won't say grooming, but then
media training,
yeah,
they need
media
that.
training. Yeah.
Yes, they need that because once you have that media training, you get to understand how to answer certain questions. If you win a game, well, you're happy. If you win a game, you're sad that you lost. It's a teamwork. Next time you come back and stronger.
Yeah.
If you win, we're happy we won, but it's still a marathon, not a sprint. So we'll go ahead and fight for more wins. These things should be easier to learn so
Yeah.
that it makes them more, I wanted to say attractive,
No,
but
but I mean they're women.
exactly to
If
listen.
they're women, if they're attractive, there's nothing wrong with that.
And it's not even me objectifying them, just
Yeah,
to say
I
that
get that.
you would want to listen, you would want
Yeah.
to watch, and then it paves bigger ways and doors for them as well.
Mm. Anyway, but I brought Akosia in here to talk about the AFCON, the women's AFCON, but there's no way I can let her go without talking about the women's league in Ghana and all the things that have happened in women's football this season. Just a wrap. I mean, what do you make of the kind of season that the women's game has had this season?
Well, one of the best seasons we have had.
Oh, really?
Yes, one of
I
the best
see.
seasons we have had, especially just because the two coaches who have been winning everything in Ghana women's space were not in the league at a point.
Mm,
Basigi left last season. Jonah Nadakwa left somewhere
mm.
uh, in the middle of this season. And so other coaches got to also show what they had. And for Police Ladies to have won the Premier League, Faith Ladies who were relegated
Yeah, that's
coming all the way to
that's a
win the
story.
exactly
Mm.
coming all the way to win
It's
the
a big
FA Cup
story.
was good, and the investment that Malta Guinness have brought into
Yeah,
the league, which was
yeah,
very good.
yeah,
And I mean, we can say all the wrong things about this current FA, but when it comes to the
yeah,
women's
yeah.
football, it looks as if they have the every other thing around the FA is like a stepchild,
Mm.
and women's football is a first biological last baby,
Mhm.
like an only child of the FA now.
Ladies,
So they
girls.
hold it, yeah,
Okay,
in very, very high esteem.
okay.
And they are doing so much for the women's game, which has really helped to put us the women's game on that level.
Well, when you have the likes of Akosia in the studio, you should know that time won't allow you to exhaust all the things you want to talk about. But look, I'm sure we've served you a good 30 minutes. Hopefully, we're going to have Akosia back in the studio sometime later, maybe after the women's AFCON has ended, to look at how the tournament went in her perspective. Until then, it is PCG TV Sports, Sports Time with Jerome, where we say, in their light, there is light. Goodbye.